Good.
Yeah, the first thing went up to, road from Hardwick and, through Callis and, Cabot and that way.
Right.
Still, it was good riding. So.
Yeah, well, I went up, West Woodbury over Buffalo Mountain.
Yeah, I did that myself.
Pretty tippy, there were some holes and there were some.
I rode up there and I'm thinking to myself, you got up to Woodbury, where you turn to go to Woodbury.
Right.
And you go to Hardwick.
Yeah.
To the left.
That's what I did.
The trail was groomed perfect right up to there and headed toward Hardwick trails.
It wasn't.
Terrible.
I
I'm thinking to myself, are you turning up through the woods there?
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, why haven't they groomed this thing? And I get out there maybe 3/4 of a mile and I see some lights coming down through the woods.
The groomer.
And a groomer.
Right.
Perfect. I pulled off.
Yeah.
Through the woods.
Yeah, that intersection for Marshall turns around.
Yep.
Turn left.
Yeah, you
There's-
just go around the corner there and turn around that parking lot.
Up at the height of the land there, West Woodbury, up on Buffalo Mountain, there's a huge rock in the middle of the trail.
Yeah.
Like a big round rock. And I thought that might be loose. Well, it wasn't loose. I stopped to try to move it out of the way. There's no moving that thing.
No.
So. But the sled could hit the belly or something, you know. You guys all. We will meeting to order. It's 6 o'clock. First on the agenda is Copley Trust. And first is final approval for senior center funds. Do we have anybody to talk about that? Go ahead, Gloria.
It was myself from the Copley Trust.
Okay.
Folks that have called into our meeting, if you would please ensure that you are muted unless you're speaking. Thank you.
Thank
I know
you.
you can, Lori.
I think that worked.
Yep.
Go ahead, Gloria, sorry.
No, what, we've done since, we thought we do, as the first of the year, our architect called Kittredge back to see if we had enough contingency funds in it. And, all we're waiting for now is to order the equipment. And the problem has been with getting a contractor this winter. And village builders, who was with us with the weatherization project, they did put in a bid. Donnie Blade, tried to the others, and they weren't interested, they were too busy. And we can't get the village builders for about probably the 1st of March. So, actually, we're just waiting for the contractors and fitters to deliver the equipment.
It's a hard time to get projects done.
It is. Well, and also, as far as Kittredge goes, we don't know how available most of their equipment is.
Right.
So, we don't have an idea really of when we would be opening up that kitchen. Because it depends on the contractors and the equipment, and then what's going on as far as the forward and goals and that kind of thing.
Right.
And there's no need of opening up the center if we don't have any applicants to come.
Right.
But we did, after Roy talked with Kittredge and checked on the cost of the equipment, which we knew would be going up in the first of the year. And it did go up, and but we were pretty close. We were about $1,200 over what our estimate was, which isn't bad.
Yeah. So you're looking just for the final approval of the funds for the project, right?
Final approval of the money.
And Gloria, having not had the contractor, have they given you a formal bid, or have you told them the financial parameters they're working under based on what you've asked for here? Are they gonna give you an additional bill above this dollar figure?
Village builders came in around $18,000 for the entire project.
Okay.
And that includes the carpentry, I have to review it. And Brian put it
But the $52,500 total project includes their cost.
yes.
I make a motion that we approve, the, $52,530 from the Copley Trust to cover the cost of the, renovations at the Memorial Senior Center.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Excuse me, Memorial County Civics.
Thank you. I knew I was saying it wrong.
Thanks, Gloria. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed.
Aye.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Judy.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I have a motion and a second to move the minutes. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is passed. Do we have anything else for Copley Trust?
Just would mention, I got a call from them bank, and they said they had a lot of cash, and they wanted to know how to invest it. They'd like to invest it. And I said, that's not up to me, it's up to all of us.
Right.
And asked him to give us some ideas when he might be able to get on the phone or
Right.
whatever.
Send us something.
So when I hear, I'll speak to Dan, and maybe we can sneak it into
Sure.
Well, we have to, I just gotta let the board know, because you have to have another meeting in the near future, because there's two outstanding requests. There was one for the country club.
Yes.
I think there was one for the, observatory too, so that you're gonna have to do final approval on those. So those are coming up to come back and get final approval. I gotta look at the dates, make
Yeah,
sure. I
let
get
me
the
know
time.
the dates, and then I'll contact you.
Yeah, I'll look at those tomorrow. Because I think the country club was on those minutes in December, and I think the observatory in November. So that one comes up soon in the country club. So there's probably another 2 meetings here in the near future anyway. So everybody knows there's 2 more meetings that we have to have those final funds.
Okay. Any more business for Copley Trust?
I will be there.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye,
opposed?
Brian.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you very much. Judy, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Just checking. Thank you. All right.
No, that's just,
We'll move into the regular portion of the select board meeting.
I'll put the money in my trust account.
Next is, Dan, do we have any additions or changes?
yes, please, I'm sorry. We need to, accept Erica's resignation, and we need to approve, the 2019 and 2020 PVR 4155. The forms are laying there.
Yes,
Form for the listers.
I see it. Okay. Next, approve minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, Brian.
Carrie? Any opposed? Motion passed. Next is community concerns. We have some community concerns out there.
Yep, good evening, this is Jamie Brewster.
Welcome, Jamie.
I would have, or I attempted to get in on video, but I was not having a whole lot of luck, so we'll just have to make do with audio this evening.
Okay, fair enough.
I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to the board for allowing me and Jess Graham the time this evening to present what was sent to you earlier today. So if folks have the presentation that I sent, please feel to bring it out and follow along. If not, I'll go through it as best I can. So as an introduction, I just want to say that what I've done here, what Jess is helping out with together, is following up on the request from the select board at the meeting from 119, which was to, gather information regarding the trails at the Duhamel Pit location and come back to the board with that information. And so that therein is what I presented here. I worked with this in conjunction with Jess Graham, who is also a Morristown resident and is on this call. She'd like to just take a moment to address the board, so I'd just like to take a quick second to pass this over to Jess.
Sounds good. Welcome, Jess.
Hi there. I just wanted to say thank you for hearing our concern. And like Jamie said, we both worked together to attempt to bring to you a unified voice of the recreational users of the Duhamel Pit trails. And I grew up in Morrisville, and I've used those trails for over 30 years. And you'll see a lot of, like hard evidence in that, what we could get together in the proposal or the survey, and a lot of anecdotal evidence. And I just wanted to say, I really appreciate you hearing us. And I hope that we can come to an agreement that's amenable for everyone, for the town, the taxpayers, and for the trail users. And that's it. I just wanted to say thanks for hearing us today.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jess. So continuing on, the methodology that Jess and I used was to put together our statement that's further down in this presentation, as well as a small survey of the folks that were signing onto the statement. None of the survey questions were mandatory. It was totally whether or not folks wanted to answer the questions. It was created using a Google form, and that website link that you see there is an active link to the particular form that was created. So if anyone is interested to visit that site to see what we put together, even take the survey if you wish. It is still up and active on the internet. The form was disseminated via email to certain folks that we had email addresses for, as well as put up on personal social media sites to get the message out so that folks could participate. As of this morning, and when this data was finalized, we had come up with 185 folks who had signed onto the statement. On the next page, you'll see the statement that folks were signing on to. I'm not going to read it in its entirety, but in a synopsis, it's just saying that the folks that signed on are trail users. They appreciate the trails. They also appreciate the need to obtain gravel from that pit, and are in hopes that the town and the trail users can come to an agreement and a methodology to cross over the haul road in the particular location, which seems to be the biggest pain point. Moving on to the next page, you can just see a couple of little maps there. On the left, there's a map showing the portion of trail networks that are affected directly by the pit, the proposed pit. I know that there is sort of a difference in definition for some, between myself and some, in terms of what I view as trails lost. Others see that as different, as though it's trails that will just be discontinued for a while, but will eventually come back when the pit is closed out and reclaimed. And I think that's something that we may have to agree to disagree on when it comes to that definition. But regardless, the mileage of trail in the actual pit area, it's about a mile of trail there that's affected. And with the haul road coming through and the inability to cross the haul road, we're looking at about 1.5 miles of trail that's in jeopardy of not being able to be used. And I can say that the trails in the field I marked out using Google Maps. You could see the actual trails in the field. So I used the footage gained from a Google Maps view. What's in yellow, I actually walked and mapped with a GPS device to get the footage and the trail markings there. The circle is the area that we're most concerned about, and you can see a close-up of that on the right, which comes directly from the site plan that Mumley has provided. Some additional items that I want to add that aren't included on this. One is there is a significant amount of more winter bike riding than there used to be due to the increased fat bike usage. And with the designation of the deer yard on what riders call going over to the left, which is over towards the Terra Gorge, not being able to ride out through there in the winter is going to become more difficult to exit the trail system when that gets closed off. So that's one piece additionally that isn't addressed in here, as well as I have been recently notified that the 10 Bends Association, and this is hearsay, I have not heard directly from them, but the 10 Bends Association will be closing off their access points to the Morristown Duhamel property. So that's going to create additional unforeseen access issues. And I understand that access is not controlled by the town, but it just is going to create additional access issues for the parcel and for the recreational users that we're going to have to sort of think about and work around. In terms of what we came up with for the survey, as we said, we had 185 people respond to the survey. And you can see the numbers there in the graph. From a percentage, 22% of the residents were from Morristown, 28 from other Lamoille County towns, and then 50% from other towns outside of Lamoille County. That's about a 50-50 break between Lamoille County and outside the county. Next to it, you can see a graph that relates to how long folks have been recreating on those trails. Jess would be one of those folks who's been there, 21 to 30 years, since the inception. Those trails have been, out there or in some way for quite some time. And then we have folks who have been there for, they started this past summer, they've been 1 to 5 years. But I think what it really shows is that over time, it's gotten increased usage, but there's also, it shows an interest and a desire for trails in the community. As this, more folks are using the trails over time, so that's just showing a greater interest over time. On the next page, you can see a breakdown between winter months, summer months, in terms of how often folks are using the trail system. It's a tricky one to get a handle on. I would say this is obviously, looking at it, from an average. Sometimes you may ride more during the week. Sometimes you may ride less during the week. And that can be dependent on things like weather, whether there are trail closures at other networks, which are bringing people in, holidays, which are bringing people in, and you don't want to ride when there's people there, and so on. Snowy weather months, there is not as much repeat usage during the week, but there are still, you had 177 people respond that they're using that trail system in the winter. And in speaking about the winter usage, I personally am not a fat biker. I will occasionally snowshoe or ski down there, But I have to say, for those that don't know about fat biking and what it takes to create a trail for that purpose, it takes a lot of work. And Hank and his crew and the folks at Fat Bike put hours upon hours of work in every time it snows to pack it out with skis, to pack it out with snowshoes, with the snow dog. You know, they put a lot of work in there to create what, from what I've heard, is one of the best fat biking trail networks in the state, all at no cost to users. So, you know, moving on to the comment section in the survey, we allowed folks just a free-form comment section just to leave whatever comment they might have. Jess and I were both really pleased with the thoughtful comments that people provided. What you have here is just a small smattering of the comments, but they touch on things from, you know, the Cadiz Falls Trails Network being a community resource and the importance of that. Another user is talking about the environmental impact and what would happen, you know, if we don't have a crossing where we're looking to have a crossing, what that does to the other trails, and environmental impact. We have an individual talking about, you know, they made a life decision. They decided to build a house nearby, you know, and Cadiz Falls Trail Network was one of the things that they considered. Communication, people thankful for the communication between the town, you know, and this particular survey. And then additionally talking about cooperation, you know, and mutual understanding. So I thought there were a lot of really excellent comments in here. There are some comments, and we've shared them in what we sent you, which is every single comment there was that came to us. They were not filtered. I may have put in some capital letters here and there and corrected a couple of bits of, you know, grammar and punctuation, but the comments are what they are. None of them were excluded, and none of them were altered for content. And so you get a really good idea of what people are thinking. You know, I'm rushing through this pretty quick, and mostly, you know, you folks have a busy evening, and I don't want to take up all of it. So in conclusion, you know, I'd say, you know, Jess and I have fulfilled that request that came from the select board last week, and we've showed quite adequately the value of the Cadiz Falls Trail Network to its users. We're hopeful that the addition of some of this data that we've gathered and provided can be useful in helping you folks and other folks in the town make future decisions related to recreation. And I put that quote in there. That is one quote that came to me directly in an email. Most people we know would gladly pay more for gravel to save this place. And that's just to show that there are people who are willing to pay an additional tax to have open land, to have trails, to have places to recreate. And I think that that's an important thing for the board to know. I understand that the board is always trying to be fiscally responsible and keep the taxes as low as possible. And I appreciate that. And as a Morristown taxpayer, I appreciate that. But I, for one, and this person as well, would pay more in our taxes to go get gravel someplace else. So that's just food for thought there. As we look to the future with the trail network, I say status quo. And by that, I mean the trail users, the volunteers, we like the working relationship that we have between the town and us, and we'd like to keep things that way. We'd like to work to be able to cross the haul road, but in terms of, you know, everything else, you know, we're happy with it, and we hope that the town is happy with it. This is not something that we want to market. We're not looking to turn it into a Stowe area trail network. we like our little local network. If people want to come from outside of town, outside of the county to use it, that's great. But we're not looking to create a map. We're not looking to have a website. We're not looking to have a club or dues. So we're hoping that, we can keep things moving the way they have been for years. And so in closing, what we're asking for is a formal commitment from the town to work with us on finding a way to cross that haul road in the area shown in the map in one of the earlier slides. I don't know how that happens. I'd like to leave that up to the engineers, at least to start, because they are certainly smarter than I. And I think that's what engineers do. They find creative solutions or solutions to problems such as this. So I don't know how the board comes about coming up or signing off on a formal commitment, but that's what we'd like to see, and that's what we're looking for. So in that, I'll close my presentation, and again, thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, Jamie, thanks. I wanted to thank you for the time you put into this, such a comprehensive presentation here. I believe all of the select board members anyway, we acknowledge all of those bullet points that you have pointed out to, and we certainly would like to come to an agreement. I think the thing would be to, like you said, go through the engineering firm and try to work out the best situation, maybe with one of us on our board, like Eric, who manages is a liaison for the highway, and Kevin Barrows as well, our highway superintendent. I think we could sit down and maybe with yourself or somebody that represents your group and work it out. And like I said, with Mumley Engineering. Does any of our board have any other comments?
Both Jamie and Jeff put a lot of time into this in a very short notice time period, and it is a great presentation. Appreciate them narrowing the focus down to that, because there's a lot of concerns, there's a lot of emotion behind this from the Recreation Committee, but they narrowed it down to a focus about the crossing of the haul road to continue to access those trails. I don't think it's an unreasonable request. I'm going to meet with Mr. Mumley tomorrow to have a discussion, and I'm going to bring this presentation with me. And that is exactly what we asked Jamie to do the last time he was on the phone with us for the meeting. And they came through and we were shining colors. So I will have a conversation tomorrow with Mr. Mumley. We'll show him the area that you've proposed based on the current crossings, Jamie, and we'll take it from there, and I'll be back in touch.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't mean to be a thorn in anybody's side and be repetitive, but I'm just curious what it takes to get a formal commitment from the board on this matter.
I think actions are going to speak louder than words on this one. I don't think there's any board member, and if there is, they can speak up, but I don't think any board member has any opposition to your request here in creating that crossing. As far as putting something formally in place, like I said, our permit application is completed and been in the process for some time. We can't change anything with it in that without starting that entire process over. But our actions, I will go out on a limb and say that I guarantee you that our actions will prove out that we're willing to work with this. You guys have given us a pretty good area in that circle to define a spot that would work well and give Mumley Engineering a chance to take a look at it for the ability to make that happen. I think it's a matter now, just give us a little time to react to this and talk to the engineer, and I'll come back to you with a proposal.
How about Brian or Judy? Do you have any thoughts?
I appreciate the presentation. It was very, as you said, Bob and Eric, it was very well put together and presented. But I wanted to mention about the deer yard, which is really the state's call, not our call. That they should not be doing any recreating in that area because it does interfere with the deer's ability to survive during the winter.
I Judy, I understand that, and I do know that that was, I do know that that was a state designation. And I was not certainly trying to point fingers at the town in that regard. I was just pointing out that because that has been designated a deer yard, that is going to create additional difficulties within the trail network. But I was not trying to point fingers at the town, just stating a fact.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted people to know that, who did it, who decided that, and the reason behind it. Thank you.
Thanks, Judy. How about Brian?
Hi, this is Brian. I have no problem trying to see if we can come up and solve something. I think it's a good thing. I just wanted to say one thing. I hear that the taxpayers would just as soon pay for gravel. Well, we're talking 41 on that chart of Morrisville's taxpayers. Well, that's a lot of money to divide up between 41 taxpayers that want to pay more taxes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
you know, like
you
I said, yeah, but I'd like to work with it. I don't know. The main thing I want to say is, you know, to us, it's been really important that we got this pit for gravel and sand for our roads. But other than that, I hope it works out. I'm willing to work if it will. Yep.
Okay,
That's it.
thanks. Any other comments?
I would just like to say something really quickly, if I may.
Yeah.
Again, thank you so much for hearing us, and we really appreciate the opportunity to get together to present a cohesive voice for the recreational users at the Duhamel Pit property. I just want to speak to Brian's comment. I do appreciate, yeah, of course, 41 of us are not going to be able to shoulder the burden of the gravel pit costs, and we're not looking to shut down the gravel pit operations. But I also want to just put out there in terms of the methodology and the process that we went to gather the information. We just had a couple weeks to put this together, and it's a very delicate dance, I think, for all of us. No one really wants to bring down lots of regulation for this trail system. So we were really strategic about not sharing this survey to a broader community where we may have gotten a lot more, we would have certainly gotten a lot more input from more Morristown residents. So we just, I just want to put out there that was just part of the methodology, and it was strategic on our part that we didn't want to blow this thing up to bring down, you know, like a bigger hubbubaloo around it than needs to be at this point.
Thank you, Jess. Is there any other comments from anyone? I just wanted to thank you, Jess, and thank Jamie for bringing this to us tonight. And we'll be following up with you guys after Eric has a chance to meet with Mumley Engineering, and he has time to prepare so we can figure things out.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Do we have any other community concerns tonight? Dennis?
Speed limit sign coming in from 15 and 100 intersections, gonna blow them out left, LED set. I don't know if it's us or the state, but I'm sure PD's probably noticed it. I noticed it. I've been doing like 2 miles an hour, which means 32. But the sign says 2.
Or 22, the radar. Or 12.
You got that,
No,
Dan?
there's no sign, there's no number on that left-hand side, so.
Okay. Yeah. For
Right in front of 2020 Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just noticed that today, so I figured I'd just mention it tonight.
Thank you, Dennis.
No problem.
Yeah, sort of like Lower Elmer Mountain Road had a modification to the 35, and it said 85 for a while with a paint can. I think that's worn off now, but.
Yeah, it isn't that LED flasher, and I like get it from responding from Ed, because I match that to my speedometer, see if they're close.
See how close you can go?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to triple, but I only get.
Okay, thanks, Dennis. All right, we'll move into liquor control.
Make a motion to enter liquor control board.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We are now in liquor control. So we have, Sarah, we have a few, renewals, right?
Yeah, there are 4 renewals: Walgreens, CVS, Kinney's, Hannaford's. They're all second-class licenses.
No issues, Richard? Okay.
Make a motion to approve all 4.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Brian?
Brian.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Do I hear a motion to come out?
You do.
In a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say
Yeah.
aye.
Gary, stop it.
Motion-
Aye.
Motion is passed. Next, new business. Do you want to do the first 2? Accept Erica's resignation as one of them? However you'd like to do it.
Yeah. I think the board got an email last week, all members of the board. Erica, of course, she's been here for a long time, but she is North Carolina and was trying to work remotely. But she has tendered her final resignation, and her last day of doing any work was Friday, closed business.
Motion that we accept her letter of resignation.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion?
Thank
I do
Erica
think-
for her service.
Yeah, I was chatting with Judy about it, and I think it'd be nice to send her like a thank you note or something. I know during these times of COVID, it's hard to get together and do anything, but actually Judy had kind of a good idea if we could send her, like, I don't know if they have like a postcard or a mural photo of the town or something that we could send a thank you note. You know, I think Trisha has stuff like that, but it'd be nice to do that. I did chat with Erica, and I told her thank you and everything, so she was happy. But closing this chapter of her life and moving on. So, all right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Eric or Brian,
Aye.
Judy,
Aye.
motion is passed, unanimous.
Bob,
Yes.
I think we forgot to approve the minutes, didn't we?
No, we did it.
The select board minutes?
Yep. What?
Oh, okay. I guess I missed it.
Oh, what are you doing? I thought you said aye.
Sleeping.
No, but don't hesitate to remind me things like that. We need to make sure everything gets done. It's not always easy to operate this way, half here and half not.
Yeah.
Okay, then the next one you added, that 4155 listers.
Yeah, so there's copies of this. This came from the listers, or from Terry, our assessor. So the board of listers and the board of select board. We have no suits or anything pending for these 2 years. We did for the 1 year, that's been settled. So I would ask the board to approve, and I think Elizabeth's got a copy for everybody to sign.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Judy?
That's, sorry.
Did you hear what we were talking about?
Yes. And yes.
You said aye.
Aye, yeah.
How about you, Brian?
Aye.
Motion is passed unanimously. All right, next, a new business, approve updated administrative assistant to town administrator job description. Dan?
This is something actually it's been through both the financial office and the town clerk's office, and just trying to make a few little minor changes to this job. You know, we've got the job advertised, we're closing out the advertisement, and hopefully Next week, we'll start doing some interviews. So we just want an update. It hadn't been updated in a long time. There was just a few little minor changes and things we thought would help things flow better in the office. So no big changes at all.
Right.
Real,
Just an update.
just an update.
Do you want a motion to,
Yes, please.
okay?
I move that we accept the updated version of the job description for the administrative assistant town administrator.
Second,
I have a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Judy?
Aye.
aye.
Brian? Motion is passed unanimously. All right, next, review and approve the highway certificate.
This is one that we have to do every year. This is the certificate of highway mileage that we send into the Agency of Transportation that updates our official town highway map. This year, we added Fulton Meadow, which is, will become highway number 123, and the appropriate mileage are in those slots for what we've added total. So I'd ask the board to approve that, and we'll get it signed and sent in to the state.
I move to approve the certificate of highway mileage for year ending September 10th, 2021.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, I was curious about number 3 under part 2.
Okay, reclassified, remeasured, and signed.
Yeah, those were a part of the repaving project that they did on Route 100, where they realigned those intersections.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But the intersection they realigned at 100 on Randolph Road, that was in Stowe.
Well, that's Stowe, yeah. That's Stowe side.
No, but we realigned right down here.
They realigned right at Watercroft Hill.
Yep.
When they redid that. You know what we're talking about? I call it the SOS turn
Took
sign.
away the slip lane, Judy.
Where?
You know when you turn on the Randolph Road,
Yes.
going out of town by the police station? That was all realigned. Oh, they did away with it.
Oh, yes, thank you.
Okay. All right, all in favor, say aye. Judy?
Aye. Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Motion is passed unanimously. All right, next, set pay rate for EMS personnel providing vaccinations. Bill?
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Sorry, you're not coming here, but not here.
Yeah, come a little closer. Come closer.
Over here in the dance chair? Okay, the dance chair. Hi, good evening. We spoke at the last select board meeting about our participation in the state EMS vaccination plan, where we're rolling out about 350 EMS providers statewide to assist with vaccination in going to be a mass undertaking as this rolls forward in steps to get people vaccinated against COVID-19. As part of that, we initiated a contract with the state. The state will be paying us $70 per hour for each person that participates from our agency in these clinics. In addition to mileage if we use an ambulance to go do a house visit once that part of the plan rolls out. Things like that. So what we've developed is a job description for a temporary unbenefited position as EMS vaccinator. I did some polling of our EMS colleagues at what the prevailing rate that they were going to be paying their staff or staff that they're bringing on to do this. Most of them were falling within the $30 to $50 an hour range. The ones closest to us were coming in at $35 and $40 an hour. I'd like to keep our people here and not have someone that we've trained up here locally go to another service that's going to pay more. I'd like to keep those people here in town to serve Morrisville residents, Lamoille County residents as this program goes forward. So we've set a compensated rate for $45 an hour for an EMS vaccinator. And like I said, it's temporary, we recognize it, it's a temporary unbenefited position. Kind of recognizing their baseline education and training as nationally registered state licensed personnel, who have also completed a lot of additional education that's been pushed out to us from the Department of Health in order to participate in this program.
Sounds good. Any questions for Bill?
I do. The question being, because the rate of pay is a little higher than those around us, are you going to be taking on volunteers from outside the current list of volunteers?
No, sir.
List? Okay.
No, sir.
You will draw some attention.
No, this is strictly for our people who are currently rostered with us.
Okay.
We have sent our initial vaccinator roster to the Department of Emergency Medical Services. I sent that on Thursday. We already need to send them an update because we've had 4 more people come on board with the program from our staff. So we'll get that out to them tomorrow with our updated list. But this is strictly our staff. We're not looking to bring on additional staff to do this.
We're not trying to chase away anybody that would like to join our volunteer portion of our program at the EMS shop.
Absolutely. If they wanted, if they want to join, it'll be for the whole, for the whole smash. There's not to be a yeah.
You want to taste the gravy, you got to eat some potato too.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Okay.
I think maybe they'll agree too that this, this made a commitment that this will not interfere with 911 service.
Right.
Above and beyond. 911 always comes first.
Right. Our duty crew, if we don't have staff to help out of the clinic, it's a simple matter of saying we don't have staff that day, and they will supplement with other staff from either other districts or from even other agencies, health department, medical reserve corps, things like that.
There's no double dipping.
None.
Great. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve the rate of pay of $45 per hour, along with the job description for EMS Max.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Just make that a temporary part-time.
Correct. So it's a temporary, part-time, no benefits position.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Judy?
Aye. Aye.
Ryan?
Aye.
Motion is passed unanimously. Thanks, Bill.
Bob, I was curious where they're getting their vaccines.
Go ahead, Bill.
That is still kind of being fleshed out. There are going to be some EMS services, especially the ones that are initially gearing up to do mobile vaccinations, have actually had National Guard deliver medical quality refrigerators to them, and they'll be storing some of the vaccine on site. I don't know if that's going to be in the plans for us. We hope to have a phone call with Will Moran, the new state EMS chief. Well, we're hoping for today, but we're hoping by tomorrow we'll have a phone call with Will. So we may either be keeping it on site, like I pointed out, that ambulance we got last year does have a refrigerator capability in it, which could make us a benefit when we start doing that. Otherwise, I believe the stockpile of vaccines that we'll be getting will be coming from DOH.
Okay. Sound good, Judy?
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you all.
All right, we'll move to old business. Review and approve junk ordinance. Todd, is that you?
I'm here.
Good evening. Are you there now?
I can explain this.
Okay.
You guys had approved this, I don't know, several months ago.
Yeah.
And when we went back through it, first thing happened is it really didn't get posted correctly, so it needed to be reapproved. The other thing was there were some mistakes in it. There were some things that weren't filled out within it. So it really wasn't, quite frankly, a valid hearing to have for you guys anyway, a valid approval process. So and finally we caught it. It slipped everybody's view per se to get it all done correctly. So the corrections have been made. All the things that need to be filled in correctly are there. And now what we want to do is we're asking you to approve it, and then we'll make sure it gets posted correctly this time.
Did Richard ever see this for abandoned motor vehicles? You see this part? Yeah, and it has, I'm sure it hasn't changed.
Really what
It's,
changed.
it is the exact same wording you guys approved last time. The only
Okay.
exception is I removed the word spent in relation to tires and put in the word used for tires and gets instead, so not to fight with people regarding if the tire is spent.
Okay. Sounds good.
I make a motion to approve the ordinance regulating the disposal of solid waste and the outdoor storage of junk and junk vehicles.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Bob, I got one question. Todd, maybe you can help me with this. Section 4, paragraph B. Shall be unlawful for any person or persons to dump, deposit, throw, or leave solid waste, or to cause or permit the dumping, depositing, placing, or leaving of solid waste on any public or private property or into any waters in the town of Morristown, except as follows. And to me, if you read those next 4, it means that you can dispose of anything in those 4 sentences on public or private property or dump it in the water. Am I reading that wrong?
I would have to look at that more closely. This is all we're doing is adopting VLCT's model ordinance here. It's not something that I wrote. I changed a couple words just to make it town specific, but that's VLCT's model language. So I'm assuming it's good. I mean, attorneys that make much more an hour than I do craft that language. I'd have to sit down and look at it with you, Gary, if in regard to that question. I'm not really, couldn't answer at the top of my head here.
Yeah, I understand it's not your verbiage, but I'm just wondering if other people read it the same way as I do. To me, it's defeating the purpose of what they want to do here.
If you want to highlight that section, leave it in my box and I'll grab it tomorrow and I'll call Garrett Baxter LCT and run it up the flagpole with him.
Yeah, I got it all done. I did my homework.
Yeah, it looks strange.
Does that read right to you?
Yeah.
To me, except as follows, which.
Right, except it follows. It's almost like that wording's not correct.
Right.
I see what Gary's talking about, Todd. That'd be great if you could circle back with us.
Yeah, Gary, just leave your copy if you wouldn't mind in my box, and I'll talk to Gary tomorrow. And I'll talk to Garrett tomorrow, and get back to you guys on any changes if needed in that little wording.
And if we approve this as it is, we can always go back in and change it anyway, right?
I would defer to Dan on that one.
Yeah, Dan says yes.
We can go ahead. I mean, we got to post it. If we find that we've done something wrong, we'll come back to you. I'm kind of looking at it too. I'm kind of trying.
Yeah, it's weird.
It is something difficult.
Yeah.
But we'll see what the attorneys say. Because a lot of this is attorney speak, so to speak.
I think
Legally.
I think the intent, if they didn't have that in there, it would say that you couldn't even do it on your own property.
Right.
The exceptions are allowing you to have a compost pile on your property. Because the original, the general sense of this is you can't discard solid waste anywhere, period.
Correct.
Except that, and it talks about the individual person or persons dump on their own property. So you're allowed to have a compost pile on your property. However, I'm not an attorney and I'm not going to argue.
You read through it better than we do.
I mean, to me, that says that you can dispose of all that stuff in those 4 sentences.
Okay, we'll find out.
No, I don't know.
But in the meantime, we can approve it and then make changes if we need to.
If we need to, then we can come back.
Okay. All right.
I think we're on pretty good footing, but it's always great to ask. That's the one for a signature.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Motion is passed unanimously. Thanks, Todd.
Happy to help.
Okay, next we have approve the warrants. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to remove the warrant, sorry.
I'll second it.
Further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Brian?
Brian, aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Next, TA report.
Just one thing for me, and I really want to thank the town staff in here, last week. Getting the town report together is a big deal. It takes a lot of effort. So I think we're at 160 pages or so for the document, and it's close to every office in the building, almost in everybody's hands. And if you make one little change, it changes someplace else. But everybody came together last week and worked hard on the town report and got it out. And I really appreciate their effort. Kind of one of those things that you don't have everybody working on it together, it doesn't work well. And they did a great job. And secondly, I'd like to thank the board for recognizing me as a dedication for the town report. So,
Couldn't keep that from you.
you know, it's like I was telling Tina, usually you guys decide and then, you know, nothing, you know, then I write something. This year I really couldn't do that. But once again, it's a great honor. I mean, I'm really here. If you look at the length of the town, I'm just a little flash in the fire, so to speak. But I appreciate the select board's recognition for by dedicating that town report to me. I sincerely do. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
All right, any questions for Dan? All right, thanks, Dan. Next is select board concerns. Gary. Judy.
Oh, thanks. No, thanks. No.
Brian.
No, just thanking everybody for the hard work they did on the town reports, and Dan for working with them, and great job.
Yes. Eric.
I'm all set.
Great. And I just want to thank Erica again for 13 and a half years with the town. I think she's done a really good job, and wish her well in her new adventures down south. So that's all I have. Next, any other business? Bill.
I just wanted to quickly follow up on the email I sent out last week, that we've been Morristown EMS has been named a pediatric safe agency by the state of Vermont. There's a handful of agencies in the state that have achieved that recognition. It's a recognition of both initial and continuing education of our staff, the necessary equipment on the ambulance that either meets or exceeds both the state and national standards in delivering care to acutely injured and ill children. And that goes from newborns all the way up to teenagers. So I'm pretty happy for the staff that we've achieved that.
That's great. Thank you. Anybody with anything else?
Thank you, Bill. You rock.
I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session.
I can read you that, Gary. It's like my reading time.
Oh, you got it? Okay.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to enter executive session to discuss appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee to the body will clearly place the town at a substantial disadvantage pursuant to Title I, PSA Section 313(4) of the Vermont statutes. Motion seconded by?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion?
Please include me in that.
Oh, I include Dan Lindsay.
Include Dan. All in favor, say aye.
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 Brian.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Just so everybody knows, you won't be able to make any decisions after you come out of that executive session,
Right.
since you'll be ending the public portion of the meeting, other than to adjourn.
Right.
So, just for the board's knowledge, I kind of set it up already. I'm gonna call Judy on my cell phone.
Yeah.
And we're gonna call Eric back.
Call Brian.
Brian back on the office phone. Just
Sure.
for everybody's knowledge on how we're gonna do that.
Okay.
Hopefully. Yeah, and the public portion of the meeting will be ended.
Yes.
So